Hello,
Return
everyone.
the love.
Oh my goodness, is that how we're starting the episode? All right, I'm starting something new every time. Um, Welcome everyone. It is I, Dragon's Fury. Insert rest of my names. Hopefully, by this point, you know what the rest of my names are. And for those who have found us via this, just swing back to those previous episodes if you like this one. They're all the same energy, if not more now, because we've been doing it for so long. Okay, not so long, but a decent amount of time. We're going on months now.
Yeah, a couple months, yeah.
So I'm Dragon, that's Infernal, and
So,
out the gate, want to thank all of our recent followers we got. I logged into the show and just saw a massive spike on the graph, and I was just like, oh, so something happened. So yeah, shout out to you guys because it was a humongous jump for us. We didn't have really any, and now we have almost double digits in the matter of a week. So that's pretty cool. Um, Also, our view count is going up as well. Again, we didn't have that many, and we've broken double digits. So again, that's cool.
glad to have all you here.
So hopefully you're staying for more than just the beginning episodes. I feel like we've gotten better and more entertaining as time has gone on in these episodes.
I,
For
t I talk
those,
more.
he does talk more. We're getting better. We do have the subscriber episodes as well, so that is 2 hours and counting of extra content that you can get
Oh,
for $5 a month if you would like to support us in that front. It also allows you access to the Discord, which has other content. We posted our trip pictures when we went to our con in Florida, and we have our vlog that we did, vlog-ish. I don't know, what do you call a recording you just kind of do on out in the wild? Is it still a vlog?
vlog.
Is it still a vlog? Okay.
Yeah.
Because we don't have video.
I don't know what a vlog is, but I know what a vlog is.
Yeah, but we don't have video. So like, is it voice log? Is that what that's supposed to mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
voice log.
Okay.
Voice log, video log. It works both ways.
Okay, cool. So we got that in the Discord as well, so you'll have access to that, and all of the rest of the things that come in the future as we record it and add to it. So if you're enjoying being with us, and you have some money to spare, then by all means, please share it with us so we can continue to do this in a more extravagant way. So with all the pleasantries and the welcomes out of the way, we're going to kick in the gear with our topic of the day. Now, this topic comes from a movie that I watched recently. I do recommend it. It is really good for those who are of the smart brain. It's not for the smooth brains. Sorry if we have any of those. And my dog is trying to break into the room. Um, the
Here's Johnny.
so the title of it is called "The Man of Earth," and it's like a TV movie, so it's really short. It's a solid hour or so
I have not heard
of
of that one.
um, surprisingly enough, TikTok. It TikTok
Mm.
tells you everything. Like it teaches you so much and like shows you so much stuff. But yeah, it's been making its round on my for you page of like the clips because you can find pretty much everything on TikTok now, like full blown episodes of stuff, or or just videos.
Which has been nice. I found some Jackie Chan adventures.
What, granted, there's some serious copyright problems going on there,
Oh,
but
there is.
like it helps you bring back memories or whatever of like what you're saying, and then you can go actively watch it in like a more respectable and supportive manner. So that being said, now the premise of this is that a professor is leaving after 10 years of teaching at an institution, and his colleagues are trying to throw him a going away celebration, but he ends up dipping early. But then they kind of like follow him back home and be like, yo, what was that? Like, we put all this work into this, sending off thing. Like, why'd you, leave so soon? And he's like, well, I'm always on the moon, blah, blah, blah. Kind of excuses, whatever. So they all, like, go inside, and what's left, because he's leaving. And they're all talking, and then he decides to share a big old secret, being he is what would be defined as a caveman. This man's old as dirt. So if that intrigues you of how that unfolds, go check that out. I think it's on. Is it on Amazon? Crap, where did I watch it? It might be on Amazon. But either way, if you just Google The Man of Earth, you will be able to find where to watch it. And yeah, so that being said, the the topic, more or less, is along the same premise. If you were to um, be, I wouldn't say immortal per se, just old. You're like just really old. How would you go about life? And
So
we'll start the starting point being same as the movie, like as caveman. So what you know of history and how things progressed, how would you have done in that situation? Or what do you think you would have done?
well, avoid a lot of the catastrophes that happened in our history.
Oh yeah, but you're one person. That's
Oh yeah.
realistically of you being to any of the catastrophes. Obviously, you can not be in Pompeii when that goes up in flames.
It's like,
Um,
oh, I have a bad feeling here. Bye.
but that's easily avoidable. Like you can just
No,
not
yeah.
be in that country at that
Oh
time
yeah.
or ever
I
for
mean,
that matter.
like if you like, especially like if you have knowledge of stuff like that we have of the current world, like it would be interesting just to see how like actual history played out. Because obviously in textbooks or any kind of book that we read, like we're not getting the full picture. Like we're only getting the view of the past through someone else's eyes. So it would be pretty cool to like actually see history through one's own eyes.
No, it'll just still be the same thing.
It
Still be
would,
because we're not
but there,
omniscient, so you will
well,
never
exactly.
see the whole picture no matter what you do.
Well, that is true, but also just being in that area
Nah,
is would just be a whole other experience.
it would be, but not a good one.
First off, yeah,
um, the so going along those lines,
let's see the UFOs build the pyramid.
not obviously not having so only using the knowledge of like how things went, like everything was connected, and
Mhm.
so that thing, but not being like, oh, I'm going to avoid Pompeii. Well, you wouldn't have known about Pompeii going to happen. um Obviously, like,
Going through the ice would suck.
probably probably did suck.
You
um
would die.
I also wouldn't have been born like this, so that's also an option. And if I was, I would have died early. Like, I wouldn't have gotten this far.
That's true.
So, like, by current standards, translated back then, I would be freaking ancient. I would be the shaman elder if I made it this long at that point. But I see it seems that this is more complicated than expected. So I will give an example. So, following, obviously, like, if you watch the movie, he explains how he obviously, like, he realized when his secret or whatever, right? And how he navigated through, like, the various stages of civilization. So you had when we hit that big mark of hunter and gatherer, and then it's like you hit the big one of civilizations being born, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And then you had things like, oh, when the the big civilization, the empires started to be born, of where he was, where he was at the time, and then as time progressed, he cycled through and went to other regions because people were starting to figure things out. Because again, his secret is like he's old, meaning he's not aging. So people are starting to realize this, and then that brings problems.
I just moisturized a lot.
I don't look like a raisin because I am always hydrated. Remember, drink your water.
A high
So
quality H2O.
the high, yeah, it was far higher quality back then, to be real.
Yeah, it really was.
If we really think about it, it definitely was a higher quality for sure. The next, so I feel like I would want. I don't think I would have been as passive as the guy was in the movie. And of course, I know it doesn't make sense because you haven't seen anything, but I don't want to like
Yeah.
spoil like the big thing, because the way, which is what I love about that movie, because it's all just a discussion of his point of view of how things happened to him, and then everyone's reaction, and which basically mirrors how most people handle things. It's, if you tell them something that they don't believe outright, then one of two things happens: they're like, oh, whatever, or they're interested. And then if they're interested, then they're like, oh, well, then tell us about this thing or whatever. And it's like, well, that doesn't work, because I wouldn't know that because I wasn't there. You're And then so it's forcing everyone to like rethink what they know about stuff in general, just based off of the tale that he's telling them. um where it's like, oh, we have all this
It was
information in the
old as
books or
time.
whatever. And so they'll ask stuff like, oh, what was it like in this region? And he's like, well, I don't know. I that that region didn't exist as we know it now, and I only know that it existed how we think it existed because I learned it at the same time. The thing. So that was another point that came up, was that he's not some omniscient being, he's just old. So he was learning things as the race of humans were learning things. Like, he wasn't some time traveler or whatever, he's just been here through time. So it was very thought
He's the
provoking.
doctor.
And no, you needed one for sure though sometimes. So it was very like thought provoking in your ideology of how you perceive things, and then how you deal with those kind of like, I wouldn't say obstacles, but like counter perspectives coming to you, and not necessarily in a malicious way. It's just more of a, this is something that I have to offer here, and you can understand it or choose to reject it, however it may be. So I think for me, just saying that my personality isn't a product of my environment, which is, for the most part, it's not. I'm just a giant a-hole most of the time. Um,
Yep.
that I would probably been someone who probably, at least for a little bit, sought power to an extent.
World domination.
Maybe not world domination, but I would have definitely used the whole me not aging thing to a benefit, to kind of like start my own myth, if you will. And like, obviously when things get complicated, because it's like, oh, it's starting to freak people out, and then at a certain point fear turns to anger, and then that turns to just violence. And so it doesn't matter if they're absolutely terrified of you. You get enough terrified people, they're coming after you. So, and you're
Yep.
only one dude. You're not, you're not Vandal Savage in this scenario where he's like enhanced of an immortal in that like he's not dying kind of thing. Like I can't fight an army of people knowing that I'm going to come out on top because I won't actually die from this
Yeah,
bloody
come on,
bloodbath.
Superman.
Um, no, you can still kill Superman. And so the I wouldn't necessarily try to do that. So like I'd probably take the same thing of like after so much of time disappear from that area, but try to set it up where I would benefit from that later kind of deal. Did you ever see Internals?
I've seen clips of it, but I do know what it's about.
Okay. Well, there's a scene in there where the the character that's played by a an Indian
The one who could
actor.
communicate with the Celestials.
Was that him? Maybe I don't remember his
Oh wait,
abilities.
no, wait, no, that was the chick. Um,
Mm. I
forget what
forget what
ability
his
is.
abilities was. He's I think he's a comedian slash actor. I can't bring his actual name, but he's his character obviously because they don't age, right?
Yeah.
So he's an actor in that movie. And this movie's been out forever, so this is if you see it as a spoiler, I'm not sorry. This movie's been out for so long. If you wanted to see it, you would see it. If not, oh well. So
Because that movie came out like what, 2, 3 years ago?
something like that. Um, and so he's a Bollywood actor, and he uses the culture of Bollywood where roles are kind of passed along family, like, oh, my father was this, famous actor, and that's the reason why I got into acting and followed in his footsteps kind of deal. Like, that's not far fetched in Bollywood. That, families are
Balu.
kind of like in it together. I don't know how true is that now because I haven't studied in a hot minute. But that's just kind of a Asia area kind of deal where performing arts tends to be like a traditional thing. So following a family line is not off base, in my opinion, if it is wrong. But that was his cover. That all the guys that look alike, all like, because he's been doing this for years, right? Like years and years. And that's his cover story, is that it's all been his family, but it's been the one dude. But it was like, oh, I'm, obviously Greg's not a, Hindu of any kind of name or whatever, or, Indian base name or whatever. But like my great 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 granddad Greg, and I'm like the fourth or kind of deal. And but they were all pictures of him. So he was able to make it work for him that the reason why these people always look like him is because they're my family. They're like my lineage. Like that's why I look like that, because I'm related to them. And
It's like technically not wrong.
so at a certain point, when you're when you're disguised enough that you don't bring too much attention to yourself, people don't look into it right. There will always be someone that catches on, but it's never anyone that can actually cause you a problem, and that's how conspiracies are born. So I feel like that I would do something along those lines. And the other thing would be trying to get through like I know we've had this conversation before, um, about being immortal, that it would have been a lot easier back like in the past than it is now because of the way modern technology is, that it would be a huge struggle to get through a lot of things without having like a underground network already established to be able to keep you in society without needing to become a recluse. Because yeah, you can always be on the move, but as soon as someone tries to track you down, then things start to get sticky.
Just become Fry from Futurama.
Things got really sticky. Like what? Literally gets frozen.
Yeah.
So many people look for him, don't find him, and then he's still, which is crazy to me, right? So he's related to, this has taken a complete turn, but I don't care. Because so he's related to Farnsworth, right?
Yes.
Hubert. Because whatever, for whatever reason, we were all, using everyone's opposite name. Like Fry's, we've been calling him Fry, but like that's his last name. Like, why are we been calling him his last name? His name's Philip.
Probably sounds better.
Exactly, but again, why are we calling them by their last names? Like, Leela is, I think, her middle name, or like her second half name,
I
because
mean,
her first is Tarunga, but I don't know if that was like their last name first and then Leela. But like,
I mean, the way I say it, because it's like where I work, it's like we all just refer to each other as our last names. So it's like I feel like that's just a profession thing.
a military profession thing.
I
That's
mean, we
the
do that.
only place where it would have mattered. But like everyone's first, like I understand, like you with a common name, there's multiple of you at
I
any given point.
I had like at one point where I worked, there were like 10 of us. I'm just like, okay.
Now, see, going by last name because like that's the different, you know, the marker of the different people is one thing, but to just he was the only Fry on the show until the little excerpt about his what nephew, but his
Yes,
nephew was never around at the same time as him. So it's like
you did.
I don't know. It was just that just popped into my head that we were literally just calling everybody by the last name. For whatever reason. But then we didn't call Hermes Conrad. We called him by his first name. So why was it some and other? Couldn't tell you. Also, isn't Bender's not even obviously like that's his model and that's why we call him that. But he has another name. He has an actual name. Um,
Does he?
or is Bender his first name? Bender.
I think.
Oh wait, no, yeah, it's Bender B. Rodriguez.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's like
So yeah,
his name's
Bender
just
is his
Bender.
first name, and then yeah, his last name being Rodriguez. Hilarious, because he's from Mexico, and the monkey.
Monkey.
No, I'm trying to. I lost. I went so far down the rabbit hole. I forgot where I was going.
It's just like we're talking about Futurama. All of a sudden, monkey. It's like,
There's monkeys in Futuramas. Uh,
is there?
yeah, there's a whole thing about it. It was like two
I
or
don't
three
remember the
episodes.
monkeys.
Okay, no, two. When Fry goes to college on Mars, his roommate is the professor's test monkey that he gave him a smart cap for.
I must have missed those episodes.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Like the monkey's too smart for his own good, and it ends up making him depressed, and like it's a whole thing because like they have like a parent teacher like whatever, and Fry brings his parents who are just regular primates, and they just run rampant in the area where they're having the banquet, and so he's just like like super depressed because he's been like trying to hold up this guise of being like this intellectual proper monkey, but the reality is like he's still a monkey. Like the only reason why he has this ability that he does is because of this gadget that's on his head. Like it's not him. So it was a whole thing. It was hilarious. He was like, but I, and there's like a line. He's like, but I look to him as a father. But your father was the guy in the punch bowl.
Oh, jeez.
It was good stuff. Yeah, you definitely need to backtrack and go find that episode. It was great.
Yeah, I'm. There's a lot of Futurama I have missed.
And then it's coming
'Cause
back. So
it is.
yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
How many seasons? How many seasons does that make now?
Good question. IMDb it later, maybe, if we remember. So, what was I talking about? Oh, there we go.
Normally, how these conversations go.
The line, yeah, I know. It makes it. I feel like it makes it more entertaining because it's just kind of like a stream of consciousness thing, and that's honestly, I think that's how most people's brains are, but they just choose not to follow the path every time. So I was like, come on, let's just. It's a Friday. Let's just enjoy the flow of the Friday. So the point that I've been trying to make was that Fry was related to the professor by being like his great something uncle, right? Like so many times great uncle.
Grandfather.
Couldn't be grandfather. Fry never had kids. It had to have been from like
Well,
his brother's line.
No, he did. Remember when they went back in time?
He made himself his own grandfather. So that still stops at him being frozen.
The genes are still there.
Right, but it's not passing along anymore. It still stops at him. He just looped himself. That's all it is. After him getting frozen, there's no one left outside of his brother, who then named his son after him. But essentially, his brother's line of the family is what I think kept going, which is wild to me. That there was still enough males to survive the, line. Well, no, not even that, because no. Actually, now that I think about it, longer than 2 seconds I was, how, like, the family genealogy works, it didn't even need to be all males because he doesn't have their last name. He has another one.
Yep.
So that means a daughter popped up somewhere along the line. But them genes be strong still, apparently, because they could still trace it back so easily. Right. And that, because, like, what, they said the Farnsworths had been there for, like, 100-something years.
Yeah.
And it was him.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. Yeah, nephew.
Yeah, nephew. So, hilarious. So, yeah, it would have been...
Always check your information.
Yeah, if you can.
Well, yeah.
So that maybe along the lines of like kind of maybe like fabricating that for myself, that I'm my own something, and like it's not obscure, it's just obscure enough that it doesn't raise any flags or not enough for anyone to give a damn, so that you don't go like hunting into like yourself. But then I feel like once you hit pretty much modern time, saying about 05, things would have been really, really rough to be in regular society. Because without the means of fabricating the documentation you need to just exist, like, social and all that, you're screwed. Someone's finding out that you don't exist. Because you can't work. Like, no one's, unless it's, under the table dealings. But then again, that's shady shit. So, that still falls back on having, like, this underground network at your disposal. But, like, you can't, find employment in a normal fashion because, that's how they track you, is through, a social. Of like, that's your point of existence, birth certificates, all this other documentation, stuff like that. You wouldn't necessarily have insurance, basically just life in general. So like
Hey,
you would really
and
just have to like hermit yourself.
I'm sure there'd be a way to work around that.
I'm not saying there isn't a way to work around it. I'm just saying it would make it that much more complicated of existing. I feel like you'll be on the grind of trying to hide your identity the whole time than you are actually like existing. Because unless you're, again, it's like the extremes. You either need to be stupid rich where no one really cares too much, especially if you're not doing anything in the public eye or anything that's, quote unquote unethical or, you know, kind of grimy, like it's legal, but it's still kind of morally questionable. As long as you're not doing any of that and you made your money and built a fortune within a reasonable and again ethical and morally correct way, no one's going to care because then you don't need to do things in a normal circumstance. Or the other end, you're so low on the spectrum of, in the society ladder there that no one's going to really care of looking up your information about this type of thing. And then you just kind of, make your money on the side and whatever. I don't know. It's weird. Um, the main point of that would just been more of a thought provoking idea of how like really putting into how much your life is tied to others, just knowing that you exist is really baffling. And even if you wanted to just go off grid, you still couldn't because there would still be records of your presence and that would still be in place to prove like, yeah, you're a person, whatever, but oh, they went missing X amount of time, even if they stopped looking for you, there will still be a trace saying that, oh, this person, blah blah blah, whatever, you went missing this year or whatever, no one was able to find you, they cut off the street, blah blah blah, you're presumed dead. But if you resurface and
Indeed.
someone who was a part of that knew about that and finds you, it bedlam just comes about again. Something like that. What was it? Iron Fist, the show, was like that. The son was off training the whole time, but they thought he was dead because I forget the path of how he ended up like that, but he ends up coming back to like basically society and tries to go and claim essentially his inheritance of the company, of his father's company, after his father's not there anymore. And they're like, well, that's not possible, you can be the son because the son's been like missing slash dead all these years, you're just some rando or whatever. So him trying to prove that it's him was the whole thing. I don't know how it ended up playing out. I didn't watch the show fully because it was just so boring in the beginning, like so boring. Like,
Yeah, I heard that show had a lot of like mixed reviews.
um which was wild to me because it's like Iron Fist is such a unique and like interesting character, and I'm a sucker for anything Asia. So like that's I'm pretty sure Iron Fist is supposed to be following the line of like the Tibetan monks, um, and where he's protecting the sacred land. It was like the mythical place of Shangri La. So yeah, I was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna be great, right? No, I was wrong. My bad. So I didn't watch that. It was big sad. Um, so, you know, things be things in that front. Now, that being said, want to so I went out to breakfast with Nightwolf. And for those who don't know, Nightwolf is my father. And we were supposed to go to Super 3, but it was Easter weekend, so we think that their hours changed because
Most
of
likely.
that. But it was weird because on their website it said it was from like 12 p.m. to like 10, but on Google it said it was like from 5 to 10. Like for whatever reason Google was saying like it was even for Easter, that's weird hour change, like difference to only on a Saturday too, mind you, that even on the non-day cuz it wasn't Easter yet, that you would be opened later in the night versus earlier in the day and then, had the evening off. I don't know. It was just weird to me. So we ended up at IHOP instead. And
Yeah,
so
can't go wrong there.
we were chatting up about the show, and he was giving me various pointers and things of like trying to form a more cohesive structure to the show without it completely derailing from what I'm going for. So bear with us while we try to iron out the wrinkles here. For anyone listening that's listened to all of it, you will notice me trying to perfect this down to the smoothest path of how I want to do the show. Um, we it started with more of story time kind of deal into wherever that fell into. Then it was kind of a question slash topic of the day, which is more of what I like. So that's what's been steady. And then we've had like the Reddit thread segments and other segments that kind of like come and go. So we're still trying to iron out the wrinkles and creases of the various structure. So that being said, following the guidance of the great Night Wolf and all that he has provided in the various years, want to try again another segment, but one that hopefully sticks longer. And it's going to be um, game recommendation. And in
Code Vein.
this, Jesus Christ, I knew he was going to say this, but now you have to really say why in a moment. So
Shit.
recommendation, got him, and so each week we're gonna shoot for having a game recommendation for bringing in others into the community. So obviously this is listed as a video game show, quote unquote podcast, because I don't consider it a podcast per se. I think of it more of like a talk show on a radio. And the what was the words? So yeah, so the recommendation being, you know, a means to kind of expand and bridge the problem areas of the collective community without getting too into it. So, more of a passive contribution to the betterment of the community without ruining the fun of the show by being too one way or the other because it's starting to get too real, if you understand what I'm saying.
On
Um,
my on our left.
yeah, they're gonna find you. So since he kicked it off with Code Vein, he's going to tell you why
Shit.
he recommends Code Vein. It's all yours, Infernal. You can do it. I believe in you.
God, I never even passed my persuasive classes.
Ooh.
Well, most I can say when it comes to Code Vein is if you're looking for a game that will give you a challenge for sure because it's in the realm of Dark Souls in a way with the combat type, but it's not as harsh as Dark Souls, which I feel like if you want to get into that type of genre, I feel like Code Vein's a good starter. Um, has a good story, uh, great characters. Yakumo's the best, and same with you. But yeah, it's like great story, great characters, good amount of challenge for like just the type of game it is. Now, if you really want a difficult challenge in the game, don't have any kind of uh ally with you, and that will make the game so much harder. Right. Yakumo, you're coming back on the team.
Yeah, you're coming back on the team. So that being said,
if
What would you say would be um, the bridging of community, or what about this game do you feel would make it so that people are more like we are gamers kind of feel like? What makes it be like that, like we are gamers no matter what genres we're into or whatever? Does Code
well,
Vein fit that bill?
I mean, I would say so because like the anime Dark Souls, it's like when you actually play the game and like obviously there's going to be difficult bosses and difficult fights. It's like being in a gaming community, like when you manage to strive and push past and beat these bosses, like it's a very rewarding experience. Yeah, I was so happy with some boss defeats. But yeah, no, it's like I feel like honestly, Covan is the type of game that I feel like even if you have never played a Dark Souls game or type of game, like this is like just a good game in general to play. Like it's rewarding compared to the Dark Souls games. So
Okay, okay, so that's good. So that is a good start with that. I believe that that's a good place for beginners to come in to the into the realm, if you will. I am with you on the, because as you know, I temporarily joined the train because due to my PS4 lack of memory and the fact that I'm not going to buy a bunch of extra hard drives just to play one game, I'm just going to upgrade entirely and just have the
it would be
three
worth
games.
it.
No, I'm just going to buy a new PS5 and put the three games that are taking up the most space on my PS4 onto that, and that will be the dedicated thing for them.
That's fair.
Because the reality is that I'm going to spend the same amount of money on all the hard drives I'm going to need. Like, these games are getting so big for
They really are.
no reason.
It's like the fact that it's like all the games are all the game data is on the disc, but it's like, oh, even if you have the disc, we want it to be on your console too. It's just like why?
Why? Like, at any given moment, a game that I get through the membership service will run me 100 gigabytes of memory alone. A game. And we're at a point where hard drives are at terabyte. I still can't have that many games with a terabyte,
Yeah, which is nuts.
which is crazy. And that's free space. I have to have the space in general plus like double that just to make an update. So at any given point, I only effectively have maybe 500 gigabytes of space to use for my games because the updates are going to take all the rest of the space temporarily and then free it back up. But I can't put another game on because if that needs an update, then oh well, there we go. I still don't have enough space.
I feel like it's worse on mobile devices.
Um, Surprisingly enough, I haven't run into that problem on my phone yet. And I
Well,
have games on here.
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, Genshin Impact does take up a lot of space.
I have
Um,
Honkai.
that too. Yeah, yeah, Honkai, Genshin, though I think Genshin takes a bit more than Honkai. But yeah, it's like the last time I checked my phone storage, like literally, like I think a good like quarter of it was just from phone updates. I'm just like, how, like, why does this all need to be here?
But like, yeah, no, like, okay. Right now, it's telling me I have 3 updates on the app store. So let's see here. Speaking of which, Genshin Impact. Let's refresh this just for size. 27 apps need to be updated.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a stupid amount, but like I stay having it. I don't even remember what size my phone is anymore. But like the only time that I had that problem was when I had a low storage phone, but that was because I wasn't doing much. But then as I progressed and started to do more, gaming of all branches because I just became the gaming avatar, the that's when I needed a phone with more space on it. And then, so, but after that, I've never ran into a problem not having enough space after running updates. I was like, granted, I've had trouble with the updates going through
Yeah.
because of the software, but that's neither here nor there. So
Yeah, that's a whole other beast.
yeah, that's a whole other problem. So back to the beginning intro with Cone Vein. It's it's nice to have something that, like you said, is rewarding to be the boss or whatever, but it also isn't a point where you can't enjoy the game up to that boss. Like, yeah, that boss fight that's going to kick your ass 6 ways to Monday, um, is going to take some time to get around, but everything up to that, you're smooth sailing. Like you're going to have, a little tricky fight here or there or whatever. You have for people like Mermaid who want to explore everything and anything at any given point. You can do that to an extent, and
Yeah, there's a lot of like
um,
hidden like pathways in Code Vein. Because
so
I'm pretty sure you know from like the little bit you've played is that like even though like you explore a good amount, like when you actually see how like the percentage of what is actually explored, like you actually see it's like, oh, there's actually more that
yeah,
I haven't even seen.
like I went through it and it's like, oh, you complete a mission and you go on to the next place. You hit back and you're like, oh, 60. Oh, okay. So there's 40% of this map that I haven't even touched yet. So there's a lot of that. And so as we move forward with this segment in future episodes, I really hope that we're able to provide these game recommendations and discussions to better help people come into the community more so of out like hardcore gamers, casuals, and everything in between, because there's been way too much nonsense going on, and we need to do something about it because the reason why we came together was because of the flack we got as we became mature adults, and those who are becoming mature adults and so on and so forth are getting flack for being into various games of various genres. So it's bad enough to have it coming from outside the community. We don't need it on the inside too. That was the whole point of coming here, was to have someone to support you in what you like. So let's not
Yeah, 'cause,
make it worse. We need to
like
get these toxic a-holes out of here.
yeah, like cause hell, like in my case, I am more than happy to try various kinds of games. Like God, the amount of games I have played, from rage games to shooters to dating sims, those are interesting. Um, to Dark Souls type games to horror games, it's like I tried a lot.
See, I'm not a glutton for punishment like Infernal is, so I won't do that, but I also find great joy in people who have passions in various games. Like I've said this in a previous episode, Mermaid. I've literally watched this woman play Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing. For if you don't know what Animal Crossing is, well, yikes, look it up. But that's not a go getter action based this that the third game. It is literally a sandbox game. And I've watched this woman for hours, and I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm
we,
intrigued
I
kind
mean,
of watching.
we spent hours playing Minecraft.
Yeah, but Minecraft has a lot going on.
True.
Like there's but even in creative, when you're just building, so that's still a lot going on because you have access to everything capable in Minecraft at once. So at least 10 minutes.
Excalibur.
Yeah, there is Excalibur. You'll have to post a picture of that in
I
the
gotta find it.
subscriber channel.
To
And
give for those listening, to give just a little update on that. Basically, we made a flat creative world in Minecraft where we were just making like images and stuff that we found online. Um, I like I started with the Ruby symbol from, well, Ruby. Um, and then I went to a bigger project of Excalibur from Soul Eater with it saying Fool at the bottom. And then I started on 3D Battleship.
because he's a glutton for punishment and a rule breaker because it's a pixel art
Yeah.
2D, essentially 2D imaging builds, and this fool, per
Oh,
the thing, is building a, what was it, essentially a 1 by 1 replica of a battleship
yeah. 1 to 1 in the sky, mind
in
you.
the sky. He didn't even put it on the ground like a normal person. No, he
Yeah, I
put it
know.
in the sky. So
Man,
now
the
we
shadow
have
it made.
this abomination of a hole casting a ugly shadow over our beautifully hard work earned and hardly, sane minds when we decided to take on these tasks, being literally covered in shadow by a freaking hull of a ship. So,
It was coming along nicely.
yeah, well, it had something come of it. Um, but
Yeah, it's like
the
I finished the whole. Didn't get the top portion done though. That we kind of like got sidetracked by other games at that point.
oh yeah, and then of course you have like survival mode, like that is in and of itself the whole thing. And mind you, Minecraft is so in depth that it's like you have your creative, you have survival, but then within survival you have, okay, I'm trying to make a base, little house here or whatever, make a base. Then you improve your base, and then you explore more, and then when you explore more, you kind of find, and then you find, like the pillagers, other villages, and this that, and that's just the surface. That's just the surface of what you can do, because you still have all of the end, and you have all of the nether, which is literally the world underneath.
Yeah, plus they've added other dimensions now. Like they've added so much stuff to
Yeah,
Minecraft
they've,
these days.
and so that, yeah, like that's one of those things that yes, you can watch someone play like for hours on end and spend hours on end, but that's one of those things that it's like, respect the process, like trust the process, because that's when things become too flourishing, because that is a grind heavy game that you have to put so much work in to do like one thing. But more so of like Animal Crossing literally being a sandbox, because it's one island, that's it. You do your things to do on the island, like you can, you have a fish collection, like from fishing, you have fossils, bugs, and stuff like that, but that's all in the confines of the island. So yeah, you can
Gotta
take your
take care
time
of
to
the
do,
weeds.
you know, yeah, to do that stuff, but it's all in the confines of the island. But once you hit a certain point, you get terraforming, where you literally can transform the island to what you see fit. And the fact that Mermaid literally, she's changed it at least 12 times in the time that we've been together in the same, apartment slash living abode. Um, so it's just crazy. So like all the different things and shit. I've watched you in the various when you were still doing stuff on YouTube at the time. Your nonsense, which is ridiculous because a lot of the stuff that happens to you is your fault, and it's hilarious.
I might need some refreshers as to what you're referring to, because a lot of stuff did happen during my YouTube time.
Any of them. But more
Mm.
recently, the Twitch thing of giving us sound privileges.
Oh, yeah.
The fact
That
that
was
you
a mistake.
even enabled those, I warned you. You knew what those were capable of, because when we activated them on mine and I was modding for someone else, you knew the disaster that could come of it. But
Yeah.
she did you didn't heed my warnings, and then we, trolled you, and it was great. It was fun times.
See, like at times it worked nicely. It was when people were spamming them, that's when it became an issue.
Oh yeah, well, three people.
That was getting spammed.
Well,
Because
it could
like
only spam every minute. It was the
no,
fact that they were long. That's what it
yeah.
was. It's the fact that you couldn't spam them. It literally has a lock on it. But the
No,
fact that
it
they
seemed
were
like a spam to
so
me.
long,
Especially the FBI one. Good God, my eardrums.
that one, again, that one was your fault, because I set those low for sure, and none of us were getting blown out when we were listening to it. So it was your settings of having the sounds coming to you so loud.
I don't know why, because it's like my audio is the same as it normally was. I mean, dang it, Dead Space was loud too.
So it was fun. But yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, that's another game. If anyone wants a good horror game to play, try out the Dead Space remake. Good remake.
Yeah, if
They
you're Team
say
Infernal, play it. If you're Team Dragon, don't.
he's a little bitch.
No, I was like, yeah, the bitch. Get it right, bitch. Like, fuck, out of here. I don't need that nonsense in my life.
It's like, yeah, no, I mean, they did a great job with the remake. Like, great, like they stay true to the story. They added to the story. Uh, hell, the fact that they had Isaac talk a lot more made him more like integral to the story, and not just a voiceless character like the original. Like, I actually feel like that added more to it. Combat was, for the most part, the same. I think they made some changes to the combat. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, because they modified the assault rifle in the game. Because if I remember right, in the original, its alt fire was basically a spinning bullet above you, which was not good. And they just brought the Dead Space 2 one, which is a grenade launcher. I'm like, okay, thank you, because this is actually useful. But yeah, no. If you want a good horror game, like hell, Dead Space was probably my first horror game to play. So it's like, if you want a good one, play the remake.
All right. And to round us out, we are going to have the our gaming post of the week. And the post looks like it's going to be a question. And the question is, what's the most selfless thing a character has ever done in your opinion?
Most selfless?
Yep, most selfless.
Uh, I need to think about like a specific example because like there's various ones that do selfless deeds. Um, yeah, because it's like obviously like you have like characters like Shinra wanting to be a hero and just going into danger to save people. Um, here you go with one. I'm trying to think of a specific one.
So some of the fun, more hilarious ones because people have sick sense of humor. When the hostages takes the hits for me in CS:GO, true heroes.
Jesus, man.
That was given to us by an individual by the name of Frosty Response 3310. Um, Hilarious. Um, I someone by the tag Hot Wallaby 6402. If you get the bad ending in Witcher 3 and Ciri sacrifices herself to not only save our world but all the worlds from the White Frost. Whatever that means.
I hate the sacrifice ones. I mean, I guess on those lines, you have Melina from Melania, no Melina from Elden Ring, basically sacrificing herself to burn down the Erd Tree. Like I did I did not want her to sacrifice herself, but it's like I like in Elden Ring, like if I actually looked to see if there was a way to save her from sacrificing herself, but that would be the worst ending you can get. And I'm just like, I don't want that.
The what was her name? One of the fire team members of when we went into the what was it on the wit not the wit not the witch queen stuff the Savathun's Eye one, like long before Witch Queen ever came out, but it was the strike with Savathun.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
That
about.
one. Where
Nightfalls were terrible.
Yeah, where she basically makes it so that we can actually complete the strike in the first place.
Yeah.
I would say she gets that one because literally that was definitely a selfless one, only because of the fact that I'm pretty sure we could have done that in a different way without them killing themselves. Um, Given the
Yes
fact that
and no, but it's like
we're
we needed the void lights from them to like even progress throughout that mission.
yeah, but like to the end when she's we're literally one way away from her, and we didn't even need the light to get to where she would have been. And
Yeah.
so, you mean to tell me that we turn people into guns
Yeah.
from just killing shit, that we couldn't have found a like a I don't know, maybe like a
Alternative.
mini an alternative, like a mini raid mechanic kind of deal of a way to do that. Which, because again, it was, yes, we needed void light or whatever, but the fact that we are void users, that
Use some.
we couldn't use something of the collective three of us to make a simulacrum of the same thing. Like, what about the
Use
hive magic?
use annihilator totems.
Annihilator tournaments have 3 Nova bombs hit one spot, or just 3 Nova, like any void abilities, like a damage bar or something. Like, I feel like the amount of times that we've done a mission to go help somebody and they ended up being, in this case, she dies at the end because she tells us this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Then you have the other ones where we were literally chasing the echo of somebody. They
Yeah.
weren't even alive the whole time. I was like, what the heck?
And this is an honorable mention for Selfless Heroes. I'm going to give this to Dragon for when he got rezzed in the Crucible, as I have a Nova Bomb chasing my ass. And he proceeds to take it.
Yeah. Hate you too.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, it's like literally just run by, see you come back up, and says, like, I am so sorry, but thank you. You were so confused until you looked right and see purple.
Yep, and yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, we have reached the end of our allotment window, so we are to say our goodbyes. Once again, we want to thank everybody who is taking their time to listen to the episode to any degree. It helps the fact that we're even known to anyone in that manner. Hopefully, this has helped you get through your day, ending your week off on a good note with 2 idiots just, discussing life as we see it.
Who are you calling Pinhead?
You. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. And if Fridays happens to start your week, we hope that this provides a helpful start. It's always good to, start things off with a more positive note to really get through. You may not like what you're doing, but if you at least are in a good state, it makes it a little bit easier to get through. And yeah, that pretty much covers everything. And I'm sure you hear it everywhere, for like, we're not the only show that exists that says like, without you guys, this doesn't really exist. And it's true. Like, if it wasn't for the idea of being able to give some kind of positive boost, that dopamine boost that someone may need, I wouldn't have started doing this. And that's pretty much it. And it really comes to that I know there's someone who will listen to this and it will make their day better. And that's pretty much all I really care about. Beneficial selfishness. I do this to make myself feel better. And you just benefited from too. Got any last sounds, conclusions, and thoughts, my dear Infernal? I hope we don't get canceled for that. Now, as we say in all of our... You can stay, but we're not. So we'll see you guys next week. Oh my god, I can't take you anywhere, dude.
Nope.